Hey guys, so happy VEDA. I've got the teapot on, so in a minute when it starts steaming I'm gonna stop and get some tea going. Today's video will probably be a little bit rambly. After work I was feeling kind of reflective, introspective, whatever you want to call it, and so after work I hung around. We have this really great lobby that's got these amazing chairs. They're red leather and you just kind of sink into them, and the arms are kind of high so I can like write in my journal and feel really comfortable. So sometimes I like to just hang out and write there, and I don't know why, but sometimes when I get home my frame of mind changes, and I don't know if it's maybe changes from getting in the car to getting home or what, but when I get home and I try to sit down and get in that same zone of self-reflection, I can't seem to get there at home. And I don't know if that's because I'm looking around and thinking I need to be vacuuming, I need to be doing dishes, I need to be doing whatever. I don't know what that's about. So anyway, I took some time after work today and just kind of sat in the lobby where it's quiet and journaled a lot and tried to really come to some conclusions about myself and what I've been feeling lately. It's this weird balance between I feel really happy because I'm in a relationship and I'm inspired and feeling these wonderful feelings, but then I still have my eating disorder mind, and that pulls at me too, which is completely separate from my relationship. And I mean, he and I have even talked about this, that we always thought that once we were in a relationship that everything would be, you know, amazing and all our problems would go away, which I know sounds silly, but you know, you kind of feel that way, like, well, I'm just missing that life partner. Well, yes, and we are still human beings and still here to have experiences to learn from and grow from. And so where to start? I will probably be mentioning food and food items, so if that triggers you and triggers your eating disorder, please, you know, keep that in mind. I just want to leave a disclaimer there, and I'm not trying to offend anybody or trigger anybody. These are just my thoughts, and my hope is that you can relate to them and use them to learn, you know, about yourself and your own journey and journey towards recovery and living a healthier life. So to start, first of all, I use journals. This journal is by Punch Studio. I originally found a couple of these at TJ Maxx that were marked down for like $2.99 or $3.99, but TJ Maxx, I haven't found them since. But I really like the size. I usually keep a pen in there, and then I keep it like this just with me most of the time. So if you Google Punch Studio, then you should be able to find some available for sale. Hold that thought. Okay, so with my journal today, what kind of started me thinking, well, I guess a couple things. So last night I went to an OA meeting, and it's a new meeting, so there weren't a whole lot of people there yet, or haven't started going yet. One of the people I had seen there a few times at other meetings, not necessarily at the main meeting I go to, and I had mentioned that I used to be over 500 pounds just in talking, and she was really surprised, and she said, I know you had lost weight, but I had no idea. And I said, well, for me it's kind of a fine line between, I don't want to, you know, brag about it, but then again I think it's important to share that and give people hope that may not realize, you know, how far I've come. And so she encouraged me to share that a little bit more often, because as much as we've seen each other, that's the first time she's heard of that, and I've had other people say similar things. So it was nice to hear and nice to hear her praise and her encouragement of how far I've come, because sometimes I get a little bit, I don't know, I guess distracted with day-to-day life, and sometimes I forget how far I've come and that I have accomplished something great and that I have helped other people and that I have the ability to help other people. And then piggybacking on that, today a couple of my coworkers and I were kind of talking, and somehow it got on the topic, and I had mentioned that I weigh over 300 pounds right now because I'm about 330. And my coworker said, wow, you know, I wouldn't have guessed that. And I own it. I mean, I'm not ashamed of my weight. If anything, I'm proud of how far I've come. And then that kind of started the topic of, you know, where did you start? And I told her more of my history and my story and what I had to go through to get to where I am now. And, you know, both my coworkers, friends were praising me again, and it feels really, really good. But I also want to make sure to say that I'm not perfect. I wouldn't say I'm living like the ideal healthy life. I still have times where I'm eating out of integrity or eating differently than what I would want to or what I feel is ideal. And in doing so, it's, again, I have those moments of shame and fear and hiding and hoping that nobody notices that I'm, you know, eating things that aren't so healthy for me. Am I gaining weight? How do my clothes fit? How do I look on the outside? Because I still have people encouraging me and saying you look so amazing, when I feel like I have this secret, like, well, but I'm not doing that amazing because I had a binge food last night, which my binges now, certainly compared to how they used to be, are night and day. I'm not going to say I'm in the danger zone like I was years ago. Absolutely not. I mean, I recognize I've come a long way, and I'm so aware, thankfully. I'm aware when I'm eating something that is out of emotional reasons versus a physical need to eat this food. So I'm aware of it, thank goodness. And that is really helpful, because years ago I was just in denial or didn't care or hated myself. So now I'm trying to fine tune, what is that about? What is it that's making me crave these certain foods that I know are not healthy for my body or make me feel bad, not only physically, but make me feel shame after. Or the foods that I eat that intellectually I know are not the healthiest for me, but yet I don't feel that shame. That's a little concerning sometimes too. I know I eat probably too much or too often, I guess is what I'm trying to say, because I feel like I snack a lot at work. Even though they are healthy things, I still feel like I'm eating quite a lot, like not a lot quantity, but a lot throughout the day. So again, I'm trying to be aware of that, trying to check in on that, and trying to see what's really bothering me, because, you know, things are going great. So why am I feeling the need to eat red light foods or push the quantities or eat more often? In a way, they talk about HALT, which is hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. Am I getting enough sleep? Am I really hungry? Is something bothering me internally, like anger, fear, a negative feeling? Lonely. I haven't been feeling the loneliness so much. So that's long story short, that's what I'm trying to get to. So that's what caused me to want to journal. And I've been so busy lately, I feel like I haven't been able to, sorry, I'm getting hiccups, haven't been able to journal as much as I would really like to, and as much as I normally do. Now, I like being busy, but I also need to make sure I keep in conscious contact with my higher power, with my inner self, my soul, you know, however you want to call it. So for instance, so in my journal, sometimes it takes a while. I don't know if you've ever done journaling. If you have, please let me know in the comments how you journal. But what I usually do with journaling is I start out kind of surface stuff, like what I'm feeling, like, oh, the weather is nice today, this makes me want to go out for a walk, or, you know, kind of surface stuff. And then as I'm writing, deeper things kind of come out. And so I initially was talking about just like what I told you, and talking to coworkers about my accomplishments and feeling praise, but then also that shame comes up in that, because in the treatment center, the eating disorder treatment center I went to in 2011, one of their key catchphrases was "secrets keep us sick." And so I started looking at what is something that I haven't told anybody about my behaviors, my actions, my feelings. I have a therapist I see, you know, what is it that I'm not telling people? And it could be something even minor, but that's usually something to take a look at for me. So I talk about that, and then I start journaling about the secrets keep us sick. I'm too filled with fear to even write down my food, let alone to show it to someone. Because I do have some shame about having had this procedure, having had gastric bypass, going through all the trauma that I went through, and yet I'm eating, you know, a pastry. And yes, a pastry is not bad, but for me, it makes me feel like an addict, because then I want more, I obsess about it, then rituals come in. I don't know if you guys have this, but with my eating disorder, rituals comfort me like no other. So right now, my ritual, and what it's been for a long time, is to go by Starbucks in the morning. I leave the house early, I go to Starbucks, they know me there, I get an iced coffee, and I've stuck with the iced coffee. I haven't like gone back to frappuccinos or something like I have in the past, or like I would have drank in the past. But and my iced coffee has 3 Splendas and cream, right? But probably, well, I'm not even sure a time frame, but somewhere along the line, like once a week, I would get a chocolate croissant. And keep in mind, I was sugar-free last year, most of last year, and 2013, and I've gotten back to eating some sugar here and there, and I'm not proud of it. Again, it kind of goes with this conversation we're having. So the chocolate croissant became once a week, to every other Starbucks trip, to a daily thing. And I started to realize when the barista was like, oh, and you want your chocolate croissant? And it's like, I've already had breakfast, and now I've added this croissant, and it's really bothersome to me. So yesterday morning, I did not stop at Starbucks at all, and I did okay. And then when I thought about it this morning, I thought about not stopping. Well, and I'll tell you, started having these thoughts and feelings, and went to Starbucks and had the coffee and the chocolate croissant. So